Shalhavit-Simcha Cohen, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shalhavit-Simcha Cohen. So Shalhavit. You got it? Shalhavit. Okay, great. I'm a first-year PhD student in clinical psychology at the University of Edinburgh. I'm studying change and resiliency, and I make videos about it. And I have this dream since third grade where I would sit in the back of the classroom and just stare at the teacher. This happened a lot. And I would imagine myself zooming to the front of the classroom and rocking the Crocodile Rock of Elton John. And, and that was most of what I did in English classes. And fast forward here now, I am a PhD researcher. I am not a rock star. I do wear glitter, but it's biodegradable glitter. I glitter responsibly. And I was always wondering, like, why did I not become a rock star? And is it possible, or am I just born kind of shy, like, I'm soft-spoken? And so I figured I'll ask science if change is possible. And the best way to check if change is possible is to, ideally, take two people that are exactly the same and put them in different places and see if they could become something else. And they actually did that in Minnesota 50 years ago. They took genetically identical twins and they separated them at birth. So like one baby would be in America, the other would be in China or Saudi Arabia. And they followed them. By the way, this is very ethically wrong. A lot of lawsuits today. And so they followed them. I'll insert a joke right now. How do you determine the sex of chromosome? You pull down its genes. Thank you. So they followed these twins 20 years, 40 years, and they found that their levels of IQ were almost identical. Their personality traits were almost identical. Their levels of happiness were almost identical. The research came out saying about 70% of our personality is determined by our genetics. The titles that came out in the news was being happier, trying to be happy is like trying to be taller and therefore counterproductive. They're saying that being happier is not only hard, it's also going to hurt if you try. So let me insert another joke to make it better. How do you call the place where they make average? The satisfactory. So you can't gauge. Thank you. You cannot gauge human potential by gauging the average, right? When we make a bell curve, and that's something that happens a lot in social sciences, you make a bell curve and you study the average. And when you make that curve of the average, there are all these outliers, and they're called statistical noise. They're not exactly in the average, so they kind of discard of them. And that's a problem. Let me explain why. So there is research. There's long-term research that shows that change is possible. People do change after therapy. People change after reading a really good book. People change after a peak experience, so a really good experience or a really bad experience could really change a person's life. Even hearing one word that would make you make a different decision can change your life. So change is possible. And even that research, there were some twins that one was really successful and happy and the other was very depressed, but those were not calculated in the average. And that's a problem of studying the average versus studying human potential. Let me give an example. If I want to study the potential of mindfulness meditation, the human potential, would I take an average of the people sitting here right now? No. or go to the Buddhist monk in the Himalayas and see their potential, and then apply that to the rest of us. So learning from the best and applying for the rest is another field of research called positive psychology. And what did I want to say? I was trying to make that point. I mean, change is difficult. Change is hard. On average, it's hard to change. Another joke. I put $1 in the change machine. Nothing changed. Okay, the bibliography is Google. My jokes are from Google. And those jokes are not even average, but at least they're not mean. And if you want to study the average of an inner city, the potential of an inner city kid in an inner city high school, would you take the average? The average would be failure. But research on resiliency follows those kids who make it out of the slums and succeed in life, and they ask, what are the parameters of those kids? What made them succeed in life? And then they apply that to the rest. Poets throughout history wouldn't write about the average relationship, right? The average relationship, back then women were subjugated, right? Poets would write about the exceptional relationship. And because of those poets, we have today a different norm, right? So that's my gift to you. The change is possible. The question is how. And if you want to know more, you should follow me on social media. I'll produce more about that. I want to say thank you to my professor at Harvard, Tal Ben-Shahar, who taught me those insights. And in the name of change, I want to go back to the 3rd grade and see if I could, here and now, for the first time, try to rock it. So would you be willing?
Lad mama, it's Friday night. Miss Susie wore dresses tied up. It's rock and down, rock and wild. How exciting, yeah, yeah, yeah.